remember right as me and this girl were about to do the Devil's Tango, she ends up seeing my eggplant and decides to say, oh my goodness, Bubba, it's bigger than Drake's. At that moment, I was so confused and lost because I had no idea how this girl knew about Drake's eggplant. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba and welcome back to another insane story. Now, this story takes place a couple months ago, which funny enough, I usually tell stories about back when I was in high school, but this was a very recent thing that happened to me back like literally 2 months ago. And I remember 2 months ago, I was basically in my room, basically planning out story times that I wanted to tell to you guys. And I was sitting inside my Discord server that I usually hang out in when I'm bored or when I'm working on stuff or when I'm basically planning things out with me and my team. And then I remember when I was just sitting in there, basically getting some stories ready, out of nowhere, I remember one of my friends, that's one of my IRL homies, ended up joining the Discord call. And when he joined the call, he ended up saying, yo, Bubba, have you like seen like Twitter lately? Like, bro, it's going crazy right now and you do not want to know why. What do you mean? What's going on? Is something bad happen? Bro, what's happening on Twitter is groundbreaking. Now, at this moment, I remember I was really confused on what he was talking about. So obviously I ended up going on Twitter and I saw that apparently hashtag Drake was trending. Now, obviously at this moment, instead of clicking on it, I ended up just basically saying, oh, Drake's trending. It must have dropped a new album. And then my friend starts laughing and giggling. And at that moment, I thought I was right about my assumption of, you know, basically Drake dropping an album. So I ended up just ignoring it because, to be honest, I like Drake, don't get me wrong, but I don't listen to his music repetitively. But my friend, he kept laughing, thinking that I saw what was going on Twitter that day when I really didn't. But basically, after that moment, basically me and my friend, we started playing video games together and stuff and started interacting with each other to the point where the whole conversation about Drake was basically over. And then I want to say like a couple hours later, I had a dinner date with a girl that I was seeing that I met through Tinder. Now, I know it's depressing that I still use dating apps to meet people, but I'm gonna be honest here, it's really hard to find love or basically find women nowadays since all I do is sit at my desk and tell you guys stories from back in high school. Like, I still need a social life, ladies and gentlemen, and you guys aren't enough. But I mean, if enough of you guys subscribe, then maybe there is. But going on with the story, I remember I was basically just, you know, really excited to actually be going on a date with a girl that I ended up meeting online. Now, when I met her online, I remember me and her, we ended up planning a coffee date around like, I want to say like middle of the afternoon. So I ended up getting dressed up after that whole game session with me and my friend on Discord. And I got dressed up to go out and I actually ended up driving to this cafe where I was gonna meet the girl at. When I got there, I remember I saw this girl and she was outstanding. Luckily, she wasn't a catfish, nothing. So, you know, thank the Lord. And basically me and this girl, we ended up sitting down for our coffee date that we had with each other. I remember she looks at me and says, oh, so, Bubba, why do you call yourself that? Because like your first name's Arash. So like, what's going on there? Oh yeah. So I don't know. People call me Bubba because like, I guess it's like kind of my online name, but also it's my legal middle name. So it's not that weird. Oh, well, like, you know, Bubba means daddy, right? Yeah, no, I know it does. It's just, you know, I'm just so used to being called Bubba. I don't know. It's just different, I guess. Okay, cool. Wait, so what do you do for work again? Now, I'm going to tell you guys a little secret about me. When I meet girls nowadays, I don't tell them I'm a YouTuber. Now, you guys are probably thinking, oh, it's because you tell all your stories about you doing the Devil's Tango online. And yes, that is partly true. The main reason why I don't say it is because I don't want a girl to instantly just think I'm like this famous dude right as they meet me. Because I don't want people to see me as a number or as a following or as a, you know, the next Mr. Beast. I want people to see me as, well, me. Because at the end of the day, I'm still human. So I remember I ended up lying to this girl saying that I was a social media manager. And when I said that, she apparently had a lot of different things to say. Like, for example, she would say, oh, so like you must be super caught up with social media. Yeah, I guess I am. Oh my goodness, that is so cool. Wait, did you see what happened on Twitter today? Oh, I'm guessing you're talking about the thing with Drake, right? Yeah, like it's so crazy that happened to him. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess he dropped a big album. I don't know. At this moment, the girl starts laughing after I said the big album. And I didn't really understand why, because once again, I thought that the hashtag Drake that was trending on Twitter was just about Drake's album that he was dropping or an album that he dropped. But clearly she started laughing thinking it was some sort of joke and I didn't understand why. But after she finished giggling, she ended up telling me, well, I mean, I guess you could say Drake's the biggest artist. Am I right? Yeah, he is the biggest artist actually, is what I said afterwards. And she ended up looking at me as if I was kind of weird for saying that, but I wasn't wrong. Like, statistically speaking, Drake is the biggest rapper right now. Like, I don't know. Prove me wrong in the comments down below if I'm mistaken about this, but from what I know, Drake is the biggest rapper on the planet right now. But after that awkward moment, she ends up looking at me and her, we started talking about more different things. We started getting along and we started talking about school and stuff. Now, I'm going to say this. One of the things that's really hard for me is that since I'm not in high school anymore, it's hard for me to relate to other women when it comes to like basic things like school. school. Because back when I was in high school, like, we were all on the same level of education. We were all learning the same stuff. Hell, we even had classes together and lunch times together. But since real life hit and, you know, we all graduated and now we're all like actually like doing different things, it's really hard to relate to people because, well, I'm a YouTuber and she's a girl still in school. Not like high school, obviously, college, but you guys know what I mean. Like, it's difficult to kind of relate to that. So every time she would talk about school, I would just kind of nod my head and pretend I knew what I was talking about because she thought I was a social media manager. And then one thing led to another. I basically ended up just hearing her out and she thought I was a really good listener to the point where she said, oh, like, Bubba, do you want to like maybe like come over? Like, I don't know. We don't have to stay at the cafe if you want. Yeah, sure. I'm down to come over. And at that moment, I'm not going to lie to you. I knew I was in. I knew the signal of, you know, when a girl just wants to go back to her place and do the Devil's Tango. So me, I instantly basically got ready to go to her place. When me and her, we got inside my car, we started driving down to her apartment that she had near her college. And I remember as we were driving there, my playlist has a lot of Drake music, by the way. And one of the songs ended up playing called Started From the Bottom, Now We're Here. And when that song started playing, I remember she looks at me and she's like, oh my goodness, this is one of Drake's songs. It's actually so funny to listen knowing what happened today. Oh, do you want to like listen to one of his new songs that came out? Oh, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And me, I was confused because she said that the album was really big and it was doing really good, but at the same time, she didn't want to listen to it. At this point, I started getting a little confused, but obviously I didn't think too much of it because once again, I didn't know about the Drake leak and what it actually was at the moment until things got really, really weird. Because once I got back to her apartment, I remember me and her, we kind of like went straight to the bedroom and we started laying down on her bed and she had a TV in her room. So me and her, we started basically cuddling on the bed and watching a movie together. And one thing led to another. We started making out and then that's when, well, I guess we were about to do the Devil's Tango. But right as she saw my eggplant being bricked, she looks at my eggplant. She looks at my eyes right after and says, OMG, Bubba, it's bigger than Drake's. Wait, what did you just say? Is what I said right afterwards. Super confused on why she would bring up Drake's eggplant. And then that's when she told me, oh, like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, it's bigger than Drake's. Yeah, no, I get it. You're saying my eggplant's bigger than Drake's, but why are you bringing up Drake when we're about to do the Devil's Tango? Bubba, did you not understand what I was talking about earlier with like what was happening on Twitter? Yeah, he dropped something big. I knew that. And at that moment, she looks at me right in my eyes and says, Bubba, you know what he dropped, right? It wasn't like an actual drop, like an album. It was a leak. What'd he leak? And at that moment, she gets her phone, she puts it right up to my face, clicks on the hashtag Drake, and she shows me Drake playing with his eggplant and the leak video that came out about him. Now, quick warning to everyone watching this video. I do not advise you guys going and looking at this leak. It is not child friendly in any way, shape, or form. I'm not trying to get demonetized. So this is just a fair warning. Be smart with the internet. Don't look at, you know, online nudity. It is not a good thing. But when she showed me this video, I'm not gonna lie to you. My eyes went wide, knowing how Drake had almost the same eggplant size as me. And she looks at me and says that my eggplant was bigger than Drake's was kind of wild. But I understood what she meant and I just took it as a compliment, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Me and her, yeah, we ended up just doing the Devil's Tango. Anyways. And then I remember after that whole moment, I ended up basically like, you know, going home super late at night when she ended up passing out. And right as I sneak out, I ended up basically calling my friend on my phone that I talked to earlier that day on Discord. And I basically told him when he picked up the phone, yo, bro, are you kidding me right now? You literally told me Drake dropped an album. What? No, I didn't, bro. I said Drake was trending on Twitter. Wait, why are you complaining about this, bro? Well, I saw the video and like, bro, you should have made that more clear. But at the same time, like, who am I to judge someone else for seeing that? I don't really know. It really just became a really awkward situation. And it was really funny how a girl basically said mine was bigger than Drake's. And to this day, I'll forever take that as a really good compliment. Not that you guys will ever find out, but honestly, if you don't believe that my eggplant's bigger than Drake's, then my opinion, just fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys. So I was watching the show 13 Reasons Why, and honestly, I'll tell you this much. This is gonna get really dark, but if I ever took my life, I think this would be one of my 13 reasons. And honestly, today's story does get really intense and really just embarrassing, so make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. But what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. So today's story takes place back when I was in middle school. It's my grade 7 year, and I remember I was just chilling, doing my own thing one time, walking down the hallway. And I remember when I was walking down the hallway, I was talking to a lot of my friends friends that were there. Well, friends in quotations, I'm gonna put it in, because honestly, a lot of these friends of mine aren't actually my friends anymore. But at the same time, it was middle school, so who really out there is still friends with their middle school friends? If you are still friends with your middle school friends, make sure you guys comment down below. But basically, I remember what I was doing was I was walking down the hallway with some friends, and basically what ended up happening was I ended up seeing my middle school crush in the hallway and got really shy. Now, I've talked a lot about my middle school crush on this channel, and one thing I gotta say is that no matter what, to this day, she's the most beautifulest girl I've ever seen, other than my girlfriend. She's probably watching the video right now, so I love you, babe. Anyways, going on with the story though, I remember basically when I saw her in the hallway, I looked at her and kind of panicked. So I remember I ended up hiding behind my friend group and basically kept walking down the hallway. In any way, there was no way I was going to embarrass myself at all in front of this girl. There was no way I was gonna let her see my goofy, loser, uncool side that I had back in middle school. Now, one thing I will say is that I was really insecure in middle school, and don't get me wrong, I feel like a lot of middle schoolers feel this way. But one thing I will say is that if anything came up to me, my middle school crush, I always wanted her to think I was cool. Like, for example, I'd post photos of me going to car dealerships, sitting in the cars that were inside, and basically acting like it was my own car, and post it on Instagram back in the good old days. Very embarrassing, but I mean, let's be real, a lot of us have done that already. And I remember basically one time when I was going to my locker, my middle school crush ended up actually coming up to me. She came up to me and said, hey, I'm just curious. There's a new girl in our school, and like, I think she's like actually like kind of into you. I was just wondering, like, have you spoke to her? Now, I found it really weird how my middle school crush decided to tell me about this new girl in school, and honestly, I totally just ignored her and said, oh, like, nah, like, I don't talk to her. Acting like I'm playing the cool guy that doesn't actually want her, even though I'm basically begging to have her. And then she ended up telling me, okay, whatever. And she ended up walking away. I remember at that point, I remember one of my homies came up behind me and said, yo, bro, you ended up talking to her. What'd she say? She brought up another girl that likes me, is what I told him. And I remember my friend looked at me all weird saying, all right, whatever. Anyways, going on, I remember I ended up going to my class that day that I had with my middle school crush and this new girl that ended up coming to our school. I remember she ended up entering the classroom when all the students were sat down, and the teacher walked up in front of the class and said, okay, class, so this is our new student. She is here from Romania, so everyone show love and respect, and yeah, take a seat. This girl instantly gets up, walks over to the seat that was empty, that was right beside me, because I was sitting in the back of the classroom, and she sat down beside me and looked at me and stared me down and said, so I was wondering, like, what's your name? Hi, my name is Bubba, is what I said, and I ended up shaking her hand. I remember when I shook her hand though, my middle school crush looked at me and kind of stared at me kind of odd. Now, I had no idea why this happened, and honestly, like, it was super awkward. So I remember when I saw her looking at me, I basically refused to talk to the new girl in our class because I didn't want her to think that I had any intentions with her. Kind of a smart move, but at the same time kind of dumb. Anyways, later on throughout the class, I remember our teacher ended up handing out an assignment. It was an assignment that we had to do with partners, and basically we had to make a PowerPoint presentation on mythical creatures that, you know, were back then, like, you know, known as myths and stuff. So basically, I remember I ended up choosing my partner, which was one of my homies, but he already ended up finding a partner, so I ended up getting stuck looking around the classroom for a partner. Luckily for me, there was the new girl in our class that ended up walking up to me saying, oh, like, do you want to be my partner? I guess, is what I said. And I remember I ended up becoming partners with this girl. So I remember when me and her were like working on the project and stuff, we ended up having to take it home because, well, I'm gonna be real with you guys, the project was a really big project. So I remember I ended up going home to my place and ended up inviting her over to my house to basically work on the project. And I remember as she came over, she was really excited to come over and stuff, and she was super weird. I remember when my mom opened the door for her, my mom ended up saying, oh, she's cute. And then basically the girl literally said, oh, like, yeah, like, I hope your son thinks so. Because I remember when I looked at her and said, why would you say that? I ended up seeing the new girl that came to our class was literally wearing like a really cute dress. I found it super awkward and was hoping that this girl didn't think this was like a date or something. I don't know. I don't want her getting the wrong mindset. But basically, she ended up coming into my house and we ended up working in the living room doing our school project. And I remember as we were doing our school project, she kept asking me questions about the school. Like, for example, who's the worst teachers, you know, like who to stay away from, who to be on whose good side, how to get to the cafeteria lineup before anyone else gets there to get the cool ice cream. Okay, that was mostly something I knew, but you know, whatever. And basically, one thing led to another. She ended up popping a question that I did not expect her to ask. She ended up asking me, oh, like, just a question, do you have a crush on this girl? She ended up literally having a photo on her iPod and was legit a photo of basically my middle school crush. I remember I looked at the photo and said, I mean, yeah, like, I liked her for a couple of years now. She was pretty cool. And me saying that, I remember she ended up moving her iPod away and looking at me, staring me deep in the eyes and said, why do you like her? Like, what's so good about her? I remember I looked at her and said, I don't know, like, she's cute and I've had a crush on her for like the last 2 years. I remember this girl ended up saying, oh, like, then why didn't you like make your move? Because I couldn't, is what I told her. And then I kept just just working on the project. I remember this girl ended up getting really irritated that I said that and ended up slamming her hands on the table saying, why don't you like me instead? Like, I don't understand. Like, don't you think I'm cute as well? I ended up looking at her super awkwardly and saying, yeah, listen, like, I think you're cool and all, but like, I just don't like you like that. I only like my middle school crush. And also, we just met. I remember when I said that, she looked at me deep in the eyes and said, well, like, that doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it does, is what I told her afterwards. And for some reason, she wasn't taking no for an answer. To the point where I remember she got so mad, she ended up standing up and actually leaving my house without saying a word. I remember my mom actually walked into the conversation and just saw her leave, and my mom just looked at me saying, you know, she's maybe cute, but she's pretty psychotic, it seems. And ended up actually going back to the kitchen, making me a sandwich. Now, I thought this was just the end of the conversation, and that's it. You know, like, simple as that. Girl realizes I don't like her, and I only like one woman, my middle school crush. But sadly, that wasn't the case. Things ended up going for the worse. I remember the next day when I ended up going to the classroom, we were basically getting ready to tell our presentations. And I remember basically, for some reason, my partner was there, the new girl, but she kept looking at me in like a most devious way, as if she was gonna do something really bad to me or my middle school crush. So I remember I ended up deciding to be the superhero here and basically tell my middle school crush before class started, hey, like, listen, I don't know what this girl's gonna do, bro, but I'm just gonna say, like, just stay away from her. I remember my middle school crush ended up looking at me saying, okay, I guess. And it ended up going back to her seat. And me, I ended up going back to my seat, and then my partner, aka the new girl in class, ended up walking into the room and sat down. At this point, everyone was doing the class presentations, talking about mythical creatures and stuff, and then one thing led to another. It was my turn. I ended up going up with the PowerPoint I ended up making because, you know, she ended up leaving halfway through while we were working on the project, and basically started presenting it. And as I was presenting it, I remember this was the most worst moment ever. We were getting towards the end of the presentation, and out of nowhere, this girl decides to come up behind me and pants me in front of my entire class. That is right. She literally showed my eggplant in front of my entire class because that day, for some reason, I decided to go commando to school. Listen, like I said earlier, I didn't make smart decisions in school, and this was definitely one of them. But at the end of the day, I mean, hey, I guess my crush ended up seeing how big I was. Anyways, guys, follow for more embarrassing but crazy stories. Peace out, guys. And I remember this girl looks at me and my eggplant and says, oh, what? It's a lot smaller than I thought. Wait, smaller? What do you mean smaller? Well, like, Tyrone's is bigger. What? You're comparing it to Tyrone? Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. So this story all takes place back in my high school years, and I remember back when I was in high school, I won't lie to you, I was known as a player, and I was known for doing the Devil's Tango a lot throughout my high school years. And I will say, rumors definitely got around about me being a player, but it never affected me because, well, I knew deep down that whatever happens in high school, it's gonna stay in high school. It's like the Vegas quote, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I remember I would always be talked about throughout girls and stuff, and I remember there was one specific time where I saw a girl throughout the school hallway that I actually never met before. Now, me thinking she's never heard of me before, I ended up walking up to this girl and I said, hey, like, how's it going? My name's Bubba. And I shook her hand. She looks at me questioning who I was, but at the same time, she kind of had that sparkle in her eye as if she knew who I was. You know what I mean? Like that facial expression of like, oh, like, I think I know this person, but I don't at the same time. She had that face printed all over her. And I remember she looks at me and says, wait, aren't you the guy that like has like a lot of the Devil's Tango? Oh, I see you already heard of me. Yeah, that's me. Oh, well, hi. What's up? Oh, nothing. I just saw you were new here and I thought, you know, you were cute. I was wondering if you want to like maybe hang out. And at that moment, right as I say hang out, a dude comes out of the classroom, jacked AF, and he is massive. And he looks over at me and he says, hey, what's going on? My name's Tyrone. This is my girlfriend. What's going on here? Oh, hey, man. I didn't know this was your girlfriend. My bad, bro. My bad. Yeah, sorry. I was gonna mention, I have a boyfriend. This is Tyrone. His name wasn't actually Tyrone, but it's the only name that actually suits him, knowing how big he was, okay? So I ended up basically like kind of like, you know, leaning back and I'm like, okay, cool. High schooler on, you know, roids. That's nice. And I ended up walking away. At this moment, I thought I was never gonna talk to that girl again. But as you guys may know, sometimes when you leave an impression on a girl, they always tend to come back to you. Because what happens next was honestly insane. I remember 2 weeks went by and basically I ended up kind of like not talking to this girl whatsoever. But then there was a moment where I was walking down the school hallway with me and my friends and this girl ends up walking up to me. She walks up to me and says, you're Bubba, right? Yeah, we talked like weeks ago. Why? What's going on? I'm not gonna lie to you, like me and my like boyfriend like broke up recently. I don't want to talk about it, but I really need like a person to like help me out with something. Sure. I mean, I'm down to help you out. What do you need? Well, like, I don't know. Do you want to like maybe like come over like tonight? You want me to come over tonight? I mean, yeah, I can make that happen if you really want me to. At this moment, all the guys that were around me just started staring at me as if like, you know, it's kind of crazy seeing me firsthand get a date and pulling a girl. But then this girl ends up grabbing my phone and exchanging my social medias with her. And then we ended up basically separating and going our own ways. At this moment, I remember one one of the guys that I was walking with, he ended up talking to me saying, yo, Bubba, you do realize like this girl used to date Tyrone, right? Like you're gonna try to compete with that? Like seriously? Are you sure this is a good idea? I get what you're saying, bro, but trust me, Tyrone is a thing of the past. Now it's all me. And don't worry, she's gonna like me. I'm literally talk of the school, bro. At this moment, I'm not gonna lie. I went a bit on my high horse, but the reason for this was because I never had a loss of confidence when it came to me doing girls or me doing the Devil's Tango. So in a way, like it never really affected me until that night, because I gotta say what ends up happening next really just makes me feel embarrassed. I remember later on that day, I ended up heading home and I started basically kind of giving myself a confidence speech at the mirror. Yeah, I know it's kind of embarrassing, but you gotta understand here, when I get nervous or when I get worried about something or when I, basically need to boost my confidence, there's two things I do. One, I talk to myself in the mirror, or two, I give a motivational speech in the shower to myself. I know it sounds weird, but come on, we all have those times in the shower where we just think about, our motivation and basically have like a concert or some sort of international motivational speech. Like my dream's to always speak on stage, so hopefully one day that happens. But going on with the story, I remember as I got ready to go, I ended up getting a text from this girl. She says, I hope you're ready for me tonight. And she ends up sending me a photo that I'm not gonna say what it was, but you guys could take a guess. And I get really excited and I'm like, okay, I got this. Game time. Like it's time for me to do my thing. You know what I mean? Because like once again, I was already known for being a massive player. I don't want to lose my reputation. But also I'm gonna say this quick warning, okay? It's not cool to have this reputation. I'm gonna say this was all high school me. You do not want to be like me back when I was in high school. It's not fun, and honestly it comes with a lot of regrets and a lot of pain that you guys don't actually understand. So just don't do what I do in these stories. Trust me, it's not worth it, and that's all I'm trying to say. But I remember I got inside my car that day and I started driving over to this girl's house. And once I finally got there, I remember I ended up seeing another car that I didn't recognize, and it was a Mustang. So there was a Mustang parked in the parking lot, and there was only one other guy I knew that drove a Mustang, and it was Tyrone. So the fact that he was there kind of worried me, and I was debating on going inside or not. So I ended up pulling out my phone and I started texting this girl saying, hey, like, do you know why your ex-boyfriend's outside? Wait, what? He's outside? And at that moment, this girl ends up putting on a robe, going outside to her front lawn, and basically kicking out Tyrone from her place, or from her driveway, I should say. It was honestly really funny to watch, but I remember I kind of like ended up ducking down so like Tyrone wouldn't notice me. But to be fair, I had a car that was also very recognizable throughout my high school, so he definitely knew I was in the area. But he ended up driving away and he ended up leaving, and right away at that moment, this girl ended up seeing my car and she walks up to my car in a robe and says, hey, sorry about that. I don't know why he's here. Like, he's so obsessed with me. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want me to come inside? Well, yeah, I've been waiting for you, silly. So at this moment, I go inside with this girl, right? I go inside her place, and me and her, we ended up going straight to her bedroom. And right as we're about to do the Devil's Tango, this girl ends up, I am not joking, looking down at my eggplant. And she says the words that I never thought a girl would ever say to me. And that was, Bubba, why is it so small? Wait, what? Yeah, like, it's not as big as Tyrone's. Like, I thought you were, like, packing. What are you saying right now? At this moment, I ended up putting on my boxers, and I'm like, whoa, okay, what is going on here? Like, what are you saying? Like, are you kidding me right now? Because I was embarrassed. I'm not gonna lie. This whole time, I was giving myself prep speeches. I was making myself feel like Andrew Tate. And out of nowhere, you end up saying this to me? This girl ends up saying, like, how, like, she's so used to Tyrone, I guess, and all this stuff. And at that moment, I said, you know what? Then just go be with Tyrone. When I said that, this girl ended up smiling, and she's like, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. What? And right at that moment, this girl ends up calling up Tyrone right in front of me, by the way, with my boxers on. And she says, hey, baby, I really want you to come here again. Like, I really need you. I realize that no other guys like you. No other guys like you? What is this, bro? Like, I'm right here. At that moment, I started getting dressed and I went straight to my car. And as I'm about to enter my car, I end up hearing a Mustang pull up in front of her house. And Tyrone comes out of the car, looks at me, flips me off, and ends up going straight into the house. I gotta say, it was super embarrassing, and as I'm on the drive home, I remember I ended up telling my friends about what happened, and they all started laughing like crazy. And to be fair, one of my friends ended up saying, bro, you're competing with Tyrone. Like, what are you expecting, bro? He's got that. Yeah, I'm not gonna say what he had, but you guys kind of can take a guess. I'm not gonna lie. At that moment, my confidence was really taken down, but to be fair, she's 1 out of a million, okay? Like, I'm not gonna let that bother me, and neither should you guys. I don't know, what would you guys do in the situation of a girl saying it's too small? Like, would you guys just accept it, or would you guys try to prove her wrong? Because I'm not gonna lie, if I had a chance to prove her wrong, I probably would. If you think you couldn't, then just fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.